Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. I hope the week's going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Apologies for the very dark recording today, but it is pretty early hours here. Well, say early hours, fairly early hours. But I'm flying out to Italy for the Milan Champions League game today. I've got to run off, do the school run for my kids right now, and then I've got to go to the airport straight away. So I've got to record now, or I'm not going to be able to record at all. So quality is not great, I know, because it's pretty dark in here. But it is what it is. And I did want to talk about Edu's departure, because from yesterday's video, obviously, we're talking about the potential that it was happening. And now it has happened, officially confirmed, of course, yesterday about 5:30 by Arsenal. He has resigned from his post as sporting director and is now expected to take up the role of the sort of managing. I don't even know what the job title is going to be, but he's basically going to be the sort of sporting director for the entirety of Evangelos Marinakis' empire, sporting empire. So Nottingham Forest, Rio Ave, Olympiacos, of course, and potentially another European club. Still waiting official confirmation of that move, but all signs are that that is going to be done relatively quickly. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more in today's show. Look at what Edu's had to say as he departs. Look at what Josh Kroenke's had to say. Look at what you guys have had to say. And we'll talk a little bit about what's to come in Italy over the next couple of days as well. So we'll start with Josh Kroenke, who was quoted in the official statement yesterday, which Arsenal released. He says, "We respect Edu's decision and thank him for his immense contribution and dedication to driving the club forward. Everyone at the club wishes him well. We are all so fond of him and the positive energy he brings to everything and everyone. Change and evaluation is part of our club. We remain focused on our strategy and winning major trophies. Our succession plan will reflect this continued ambition," which I think is obviously the most key part, really, of the quote there and of Josh Kroenke's statement, is his pledge. Basically, we will replace Edu with top quality. Our succession plan will reflect this continued ambition. And that ambition, as he says, is to change, evolve, remain focused on the strategy of winning major trophies. So some big words there from Josh Kroenke. It's going to be really interesting in terms of who comes in, who replaces Edu, what route Arsenal go down. I look at the possible internal solutions. I know lots of you in the comments yesterday have been mentioning Per Mertesacker, for example, who's an interesting shout. Hasn't really obviously done the job, but he has been managing the academy for a long, long time. And as part of those academy management, he has been negotiating with to keep the best young talent like Ethan Nwaneri. I mean, Edu's involved in that as well, but Per certainly knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to negotiation. He's a brilliantly smooth operator as well, Per Mertesacker. I'm just not sure that would necessarily happen, though. Also, you do that, then there's even more change going on, because then you then have to find a new academy manager as well. So I'm not really sure when it comes to Per Mertesacker. Obviously, you've got Jason Ito, who's the assistant sporting director, who has been in position for about a year now, has been working at the club in various roles for a long, long time, knows the club very well, is respected at the club, was respected enough to be promoted to assistant sporting director a year ago. So there is that potential of just him seamlessly moving into taking over the sporting director role. We don't really know too much about him. He's not really a front of face type guy in terms of the business. We haven't really seen him at all, but that's not to say he couldn't do the job and do the job very, very well. Again, he's very highly respected at the club, and there's a new appointment coming in to work with Richard Garlick, of course, who's managing director. I think it's James King, isn't it? He's coming back to be to head up football operations as well. So Arsenal do have a system in place to potentially fill the void left by Edu, but I would suggest, given the importance of his role, that someone comes in to do it. Whether he actually is sporting director remains to be seen. Edu was made sporting director for the first time ever for Arsenal to have a sporting director 2 years ago. That was a decision that was taken to sort of reward Edu for the work that he'd done as technical director. I think it was known at that point at the club that Edu was a very ambitious guy and he wanted more responsibility. And that's why the post of sporting director, which helped him oversee the academy and women's football as well as men's football, was created to give him that extra responsibility to try and make him continue to feel happy and that he can continue to progress at Arsenal. Whether the new guy comes in just maybe reverts back to a technical director role, which is basically just looking after the men's team, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But as Kroenke says there, that we remain focused on our strategy and winning major trophies, our succession plan will reflect this continued ambition. Kind of, as I was saying yesterday, I think this is also a good possibility for Arsenal. It is sad to see Edu go. He has done a fantastic job. I think the simple question is Arsenal in a much better position now than when Edu came into the club? And the answer to that is undoubtedly yes. Is the club in a strong position? Is it viewed as a better club now? Yes. Is the squad miles better? Yes. When you answer all that, he's done a good job. It's impossible to say he hasn't. I will take on anyone who says he hasn't done a good job. He has done a good job. Could he have done better? Yes, 100%. Of course he could. And I think we've all known and spoken about the sort of deficiencies that we've kind of linked Edu to. Can he sell players better? Can he make more money? Potentially, yes. Has every signing been a success? No, of course it's not. But no signing is ever always a complete success. There's always going to be misses when it comes to signings. It's just if there's more hits than misses, then you've done pretty well. And I think Edu has certainly done that. But I do still look at this as a potential for Arsenal to freshen things up, bring in a new way of thinking, maybe a new sort of person who can challenge Mikel Arteta, which I think is really, really key because you need to be able to challenge Mikel Arteta. Obviously, Arteta's influence at the club has grown and grown in the last few years because of the work he's done and how successful it's been. And so the club have been quite happy to give him more responsibility. He obviously was head coach, now he's a manager. And he is going to have a big say in who comes in as sporting director. He has to because he's going to work hand in hand with him. But whoever it is needs to make sure that he can challenge Arteta as well. And he's not just a sort of yes man type guy. And I think that's really, really important with this next appointment. So it can freshen things up. It can bring a new outlook on things. Maybe it could be an improved negotiator. We'll have to wait and see. But I also think equally it has to be someone who can challenge Mikel. And that is why I kind of look at maybe bringing someone in from outside, not an internal solution, could be a good way of thinking. You know, I've mentioned Thomas Rosicky. I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be a former player. Of course, it doesn't have to be a former player or anyone linked with Arsenal. It can be whoever's best in class. But Thomas Rosicky is out there doing a decent enough job at Prague as well, knows Mikel Arteta pretty well. Could he be a potential solution? Maybe so. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, interesting comments I thought from Josh Kroenke there on Edu's departure. This is what Edu has had to say. He said, it was an incredibly hard decision to make. Arsenal has given me the opportunity to work with so many amazing people and the chance to be part of something special in the club's history. It's been a special journey. I thank Stan, Josh, Tim and Lord Harris for the support they've given me. I've loved working with so many great colleagues across the men's, women's and academy teams, especially Mikel, who has become a great friend. Now it is time to pursue a different challenge. Arsenal will always remain in my heart. I wish the club and its supporters only good things and all the very best. So that was Edu's parting words. I don't think there's going to have to be any real sort of gardening leave period. I'm not sure for certain. I was trying to find this out yesterday. I didn't get a completely firm answer on it, but I'm not sure. Edu's salaried. I don't think he's got a contract. I think he's salaried, and I think he can leave basically almost immediately to take up the role as Nottingham Forest. It's not ideal. And a lot of people said, oh, it's bad timing. I don't see when there is a good time for the sporting director to go. Maybe as soon as the summer transfer window is finished, potentially is the best time for a sporting director to leave. But any time through the season is going to be disruptive. We are close to January now, and there would have been a lot of work being done in terms of potential targets for the January transfer window. But again, that would have been work that's done hand in hand with Jason as the assistant sporting director, and he will know exactly what's going on, where negotiations are, who's been spoken to. So you would hope that that would help limit the disruption as well. We've obviously got, he overlooks the women's team as well. The women are looking for a new manager. He would have been absolutely leading that hunt for a new manager. So that's going to be disruptive as well. But there are other people who are working on that as well as Edu. So yeah, it is a shame. It is not ideal. The timing's not great, but it is what it is. And Edu is saying his goodbyes, or has said his goodbyes. Lots of reaction from you guys, as you can imagine, to this. I've pulled a few of them together. Cameron says, on one hand, I'm thankful to Edu for everything he's done. He had a key role in getting the club competing again. On the other hand, there are far too many instances of missing our main targets and struggles to get any kind of fees for our outgoings. I understand the need to get players' wages offloaded, but he was very poor in that regard as a whole. We could go back and forth about the positive and negatives of Edu, but I always felt he could have definitely been replaced with someone more experienced. As you said, I don't feel we have any issue finding a replacement, but the club needs to make whoever comes in absolutely ruthless when it comes to negotiations. Rumours are his salary is going to be tripled, along with a much bigger role. I think the majority of us would snap that up in a heartbeat. So I have no hard feelings to him. Extremely grateful for everything he's done for Arsenal. So that's what Cameron had to say. Kieran says, The Edu news, I must admit, has come as a complete shock. And whilst the summer window wasn't a 10 out of 10, Edu alongside Arteta has felt instrumental for helping Arsenal feel like Arsenal again. Can only assume there has been a disagreement or fallout behind the scenes, but surely this can't come as a good thing for Mikel. Both Edu and Arteta feel like they've been working together in harmony. Does this suggest unsettling scenes behind? All I can say is, from what I've been told, I've been categorically said, any talk about fallout is not correct. Edu just wanted to make this move. He was getting itchy feet. He wanted to take on more responsibility. That wasn't going to happen at Arsenal. He was very open to the multi-club ownership sort of position and running all of those clubs. And obviously, he's getting a massive, massive pay rise to do it as well. So I was told there has been no fallout. And Edu referenced Mikel, obviously, in his quotes, and he's now a great friend. They've got a great relationship. I've certainly not heard of any fallout. And I was asking the question yesterday, and it was reiterated to me very sternly that there hasn't been a falling out. This is not about that. This has been something that has been in the works for a while. We have heard murmurings of it. Arsenal knew that there was something potentially going on in the background. They're still, disappointed that he's gone. But I don't think it's come as a massive surprise, having spoken to people yesterday, that it has happened. I think they were aware that something could potentially be in the pipeline. But yeah, obviously, I'm going to be speaking to Mikel Arteta later on today at the press conference. He's going to get loads and loads of questions about this. But as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been a falling out. There's no rift or anything like that. Ollie says, I'm gutted about Edu, but agree there's a high turnaround in that job role. It would have been nice for him to see out the process, but there's no way of knowing what really happened apart from speculating. I wonder if Arteta will get a bit more power now in terms of transfer say, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes about it. If so, I'd even say it would make or break for him in terms of managerial career at Arsenal if he does indeed get more power. I'd fully expect him to come good. Who do you have an eye on for the role? Charles, yourself, get that Isak in. Yeah, I'd do the job. No worries about that. I'd quite gladly take on Edu's salary of £2 million a year and do that job. I'm not sure you guys would be too impressed by it because I'm pretty sure I'd do a terrible one at that. But yeah, if they're offering, I'm sure I'd take it. HPM says Edu has done some great work, but the situation we're in now came from a slightly arrogant summer window of thinking we could sell our fringe attackers, not replace them, and hope everything could work out. We allow players like Neto slip away. I think a different strategy is needed. Richard says, Charles, at this point in time, would you say this so-called project is a success? It's an interesting one. Is it a success? Well, no, not yet, because I think for it to be a success at Arsenal, you've got to win trophies, 100%. There's got to be something to show for it. But I do think it has been absolutely needed, and I think it's been brilliant so far to get Arsenal to where they are. But you've got to finish the job off now, and that finishing the job off, if you're Arsenal, is trophies, 100%. You get some silverware on the board. You've done all this great work. You've built this brilliant squad. You transformed a club that was in the doldrums and was looking like it was going nowhere. Brilliant. And that has been great. So you can measure success in different ways. But ultimately, if you're Arsenal, success is measured in winning trophies. And I think that's what it's all about now. And I think Arteta, if you asked him, would say exactly the same thing as well. Already done HPM's one. Holly says, I think Edu has done a great job, but equally, I don't think it's necessarily has to be a totally negative thing. If recruitment is done correctly, there could be benefits with someone new coming in with a fresh look on the transfer market. Have a safe journey. Thank you very much for that, Holly. And Adrian says, I totally get it. If Marinakis is offering Edu a significant pay rise to take up this new challenge, how can you blame Edu? It's a huge project to get Forest back to where they belong with the big boys, to get more trophies and inroads in Europe with Olympiacos, and to qualify for Europe with Rio Ave, have been in the Portuguese top flight for the past 20 seasons. If Arsenal wins anything this season or next, Edu will still get credit. He's built this squad. So there's some nice comments from you guys on Edu's departure. Okay, quickly looking ahead to the game, we're going to be interesting. Well, I'm literally going to be in the air when Arsenal opening training session starts, or I might just be about to take off because I think it's due to start about 11:30. I take off at 11:40, and open training is usually late, so I imagine that it's going to be happening when I'm in the air. All eyes are going to be on whether Martin Odegaard is part of that squad. We know he's close. We know Arsenal have got eyes on him potentially coming back before the international break. If there's any chance of that happening, he's going to need to be in open training today, you would think. So all eyes is going to be on that. I'm not expecting any of the other injured guys to return. Obviously, Ben White was left on the bench, did play some minutes at the weekend, but hopefully he'll be fine to continue to step up his recovery, and hopefully he'll be fine to play at right back tomorrow. If he is, then you would move Thomas Partey into midfield. I will spend more time tomorrow in my show going over what Mikel's had to say in the press conference. Of course, we'll do my predicted 11 as well. But if Ben White's fit, I think it's absolutely essential that you get Ben White back into that team and you move Thomas Partey back into the midfield, probably at the expense, I would say, of Mikel Merino in that regard, because Thomas Partey is playing too well to be playing at right back. But yeah, all eyes going to be on Martin Odegaard. I can't imagine Tomiyasu's going to be back. But we'll have to wait and see on that. No, not going to be any Calafiori. He's out until after the international break as well. But some big decisions to make, I think, for Mikel Arteta. He's got to find a way of getting this team firing again after the last couple of disappointing results in the Premier League. Obviously, 1 point from a possible 9 in the last 3 games, 2 defeats in that run, and a really worrying, disappointing performance against Newcastle at the weekend. So Arteta needs to find a solution. He said it himself after the Newcastle game. He needs to find a solution. Be interesting to see what that is. It's going to be a difficult game at San Siro tomorrow night against a very good, very well prepared Inter Milan team, who we know got to the final of this competition just a couple of seasons ago. So it's going to be a very difficult game for Arsenal, and they're going to have to play a hell of a lot better than they did at St James's Park. No doubt about that. You want to get involved in tomorrow's show? Give me a starting 11s, who you would start and where, what changes Mikel Arteta should make. Let me know in the comments down below. I'll pull them together and get them included in tomorrow's show. I'll see if I get time to do anything tonight after the press conference, which is at San Siro at 8 p.m. Italian time. So I think 7 p.m. your time if you're over here in the UK. See if I get time after that to do a video. If not, I'll definitely do one in the morning, of course, looking ahead to the game later on. And that's it from me, everyone, today. Thank you very much for your time, as always. I'll speak to you either tonight or tomorrow from Italy. But until then, have a fantastic day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.